Today I wanted to take a few minutes and discuss a very common question and a very common concern that many of our clients have, and that is, how much life insurance should I have in place? It's actually a question more people should be asking. And I say that because according to LIMRA, there are 102 million Americans with an insurance gap, meaning that if, God forbid, they were to pass away, they don't have enough insurance in place to protect their family. I wanted to talk about two different topics: how much insurance should I have in place, or should you have in place, and what type of insurance should we have in place. The amount of coverage is sometimes simple, sometimes complex, but there's one basic rule of thumb, and that is, when you're raising a family, a young family, you're going to work every day, just trying to make a living and accumulate as much money as possible, you should have roughly 7 to 10 times your salary plus any major debts. Let's say you make $150,000, you owe $500,000 on your house. 10 times that $150,000 is $1.5 million, and then we would include most of that $500,000 mortgage in there, meaning you should have roughly $2 million of coverage. The second piece of the equation is, what type of insurance should I have in place? And that's a great question because it does depend on where you are in life. Let's say you're 30 years old, you have 2 young kids, you really just focus on going to work, but God forbid, knowing that they're protected. You went on TV or went online, you could look up price of life insurance and say, hey, I can get $1 million of coverage for $15 a month. Yeah, you can definitely do that. But more times than not, that's what's called a 10-year term or a 15-year term. And that might not cover the risk for you, right? If your children are, let's say, a newborn and 5 years old, and you're only 30, a 10-year term, one, you're taking a huge bet against yourself, but if you live to 40 or those 10 years, the coverage has done nothing for you. Yes, that's the cheapest option at the time, but is it the most efficient or the right type of coverage for you? Definitely not. We would encourage everybody to at least cover the risk until their children are 20 to 25, really when your children get off the payroll, but also cover other major expenses. You want to get your kids through education if you're paying for a private high school, or even paying down the house, right? If you take a 20-year term policy and you have a 30-year mortgage, you're going to have 10 years exposed on the back end. The amount of insurance is super important. The type of coverage, super important. If you have any questions, which I'm sure many of you do, use the link below to our Calendly to book a 15-minute strategy call with us about what type and how much life insurance you should have.